I want to talk about Project 4 and see if I can help guide you to some of these answers while I'm actually answering the questions for you. But what this is the results of 3 experiments, experiment A, B, and C, you can see here listed. And they were comparing 2 different shavers. So these are women's shavers. And they took a group of women and had them shave each leg, and then they rated them. So there was a composite score rated on smoothness, closeness, and safety. And we see the results here. So experiment A was, again, just one experiment with 26 women in it. And the mean for the Gillette group was given, 7.71. And you'll see the mean for the Bic group, 5.96. So we had 2 groups being compared. And, 2 razors being compared by the same 26 women. And we're going to talk about all this information here. Now, when you go through to answer these questions, some are in general. You see number 1 says, in general, what's the null hypothesis when testing 2 sample means? So we're saying that how do we approach hypothesis testing when we are comparing 2 groups? How do we start when we talk about that null hypothesis? Remember that this is something like a court case where, we assume innocence until proven guilty, and we have to assume that these 2 groups are the same when we start out, even though we might think they're different. What type of statistical tests were conducted? Now you're supposed to go back up here and look. And you'll see here, there's some information about a test statistic, and then you'll see down here also some information about another value that was given. So those would tell you which 2 different types of tests were run. And could have different type, well, in general, there's lots of different options when you're trying to conduct studies. So that's all I'll say about that one. And then the type of variables, again, this question we seem to see on every project. Is razor, is it qualitative or quantitative? Discrete or continuous? Is score qualitative or quantitative? And if quantitative, is it discrete or continuous? A level of measurement, nominal, ordinal, interval, ratio. So you got to pick one for the razor and you got to pick one for the score. Again, where the sample is independent or dependent. And it said what numbers are being compared in the t-test. And again, we want to look up here and look at what kind of things were being compared. And then what do you compare when you compare the f-test? Is it means, proportions, variances? Participants in the studies are listed. In general, what do you compare to the significance level to see if you should reject? Again, number 10 is in general. In any study, what do we call that probability of a type 1 error calculated from the sample data? Now, was a right, left, or two-tailed test run? You can tell that by going up and looking at the critical value. So this should give us some indication here of what our answers are going to be for those. Would there be a statistically significant difference between the means if the significance level was set at 10%? So again, we'll go back here, and if this was 10% here instead of 5%, would we reject? Well, this already is 10%, so we can tell that already here. If this was 10%, would we reject? And that's what they're asking you. Can you manipulate the results of some studies by changing the level of significance? Was there a statistically significant difference between means? Okay, we got that. What determines if the variances need to be pulled? Well, that's the f-test. If the variances are significantly different. What number from the output shows the predetermined probability of a type 1 error? And what's compared to the critical value? So these 3 right here, these are pretty much asking the same things in different ways. Accepting or rejecting. What type of error goes with accepting? Which type of error goes with rejecting? What do we mean by significant difference? Is that when we accept or reject? F-test. And have we proven anything? Well, we really never prove anything in statistics.